Today's video is a video all about one of these crazy girls. If you want to go ahead and tell me about your previous relationships and your story times, please send them in through the Instagram or Discord down below. If you have any story about that matter, please do so. Right, I love reading them, even if it isn't just for the YouTube channel and isn't going to be read. I just like reading them. Right. Other than that, let's get straight into it. I would just like to go ahead and introduce our main characters of this video. It is James and Tori. So if you guys don't know, Tori, right, she is one of these crazy crystal girls, right? And if you don't know what a crystal girl is, they believe in like astrology and things like that, and they base their life on it, right? And so this girl, she's like really into astrology more than anyone else, right? And so she would go ahead and make all of her decisions around it, right? And it got kind of intense. So let's get straight into it. So James and Tori started dating about 6 months ago, and they met at a cafe, and so they agreed that their first date should be at that cafe. And so, right, they met up, and she was a little weird, right? At the time, she was like, oh, right, my, seer said that we were gonna go ahead and be together, right? That I was gonna find the one. And he was like, okay, that's a little weird, but you can get behind a seer, right? It's weird, but you can go ahead and work through people thinking they have a seer. Like, it's not as weird as other things, but it's still kind of weird, right? And so he was gonna just deal with it. And he went ahead and he continued, and he just started to go ahead and basically go out with this girl. And she would constantly make little things, little points like, oh, I love making my decisions through X, Y, and Z. Right? It was like tarot cards and crystals and whatnot. Anything much of it, right? Because it's quirky to go ahead and think that like a magic 8-ball works, right? It's not crazy. But she seemed to think that that was like a good thing. And so she would constantly go ahead and make decisions in this way. And so he would constantly go out with her, and he'd put up with a lot. Right. And so it was like a weird relationship that he would put up with, right? And they eventually went ahead and moved in together, right? And that's where our real story begins, right? Because when they moved in together, they went ahead and she brought over tons of random things. And so they weren't living in like a major apartment. They were living in a tiny condo, right? And if you don't know what a condo is, it's basically an apartment that you own, and it's about 1/10 of the size as like a normal apartment a lot of the time. And so he ended up wondering like, oh wow, you're bringing over 12 boxes of this stuff. And that pushed him to the edge, where he basically had to tell her like, hey, it's a lot to bring over. It's kind of small here. But she went ahead and continued to bring over more and more of this stuff, and she would constantly buy more and more of it. And they were trying to go ahead and save up some money and get out of the condo and get into an actual house, but she's spending a ton of money on random stuff, right? And so she went ahead and she brought over 12 boxes of crystals. She sets them up all over the house. And he thought, okay, this is kind of a vibe. You know, like having a geode in the middle of the living room is kind of cool. But it's like all over the place, where she had a ton of these things. And they barely had box space eventually, right? It was a lot of these crystals. And so she went ahead and they just started talking like, hey, could you tone it down a little bit? Like, there's a ton of crystals, right? And he started to notice these eccentric behaviors where it was like, okay, you're going ahead and you're rubbing crystals all over your body every day, right? And she's saying it's for like good fortune and things like that. And it's like, that's kind of weird, right? I don't think the amethyst on your body is going to go ahead and bring you fortune, but maybe, right? And so she's doing that kind of stuff where, like, she's going ahead and giving random buffs to herself by rubbing a rock on her. Doesn't really make sense, but that's what she's doing. And she went ahead and did that every morning. She had like a routine where she would go ahead and get a random rock and rub it on herself, and it's like 30 minutes of this every day. And he would notice, like, okay, right, you're doing this every single day. That's kind of crazy. And it was 30 minutes a day of rubbing like 20 different rocks on your body, right? And she would be waking up at like 3 a.m. to rub these rocks on her body. She'd be tracking stars and stuff, and it was like a lot, right? And she didn't just have one of these things, right? She's doing stars, she's doing rocks, she's doing the different random stuff. And so she went ahead and did this 24/7, right? And so he would, like, anytime they left the house, she'd be doing this kind of thing, right? And so they'd be trying to leave for a date night. She'd be rubbing these rocks on her body, trying to go ahead and do this. And they were getting places late because of this, because she would only get started getting ready like 45 minutes before they leave, but she has a 35-minute routine of rubbing rocks on her body. Kind of insane, right? And so she went ahead and did that over and over and over again. She's just rubbing these rocks on her body. She's just doing all this constantly. And it was a lot. And so she would constantly be doing Toro. She'd constantly be doing this and that. And she wouldn't ask for things at like her job. She'd be like supposed to get a yearly raise. She didn't go and ask for the yearly raise like she was supposed to do because, the card said it wasn't gonna work. Things like that. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, that's kind of crazy, And so she eventually, like, they started going ahead and fighting about it because they're late to every single place. They're late to this and that, right? And now you're still doing this. And so it wouldn't be like just like some eccentric thing. It was constantly, right? So he eventually got over at that point. Like, hey, you gotta go ahead and do it right, because it's 24/7. You're constantly trying to go ahead and do this rock stuff, do this crystal stuff. It's like, okay, that's too much, babe, right? We're supposed to be going ahead and having this fancy date at this fancy restaurant, and we only have a limited time there, and you're going ahead and rubbing rocks all over your body. So they start to have a conversation like, hey, babe, could you chill out just a little bit, right? I think it's cute, a little bit of this rock thing. Fine. But we need to go ahead and probably just tune it down a little bit, because the idea of being late to a restaurant every single time is not a good one, right? And so we went ahead. They then went ahead and started to go ahead and fight. Like, hey, tune it down. She didn't tune it down, but she said she would. Things like that. And she eventually took this to her therapist. Like, hey, he's being so mean to me. And they're like, okay, right. And so they started fighting over that because she would take this to her rock lady, her therapist, everyone. And she had a ton of people. And she's paying for these services that are all telling her to leave. And so, right, no, it was kind of intense. But the boyfriend and her were fighting, and it was for months. And they were losing, like, multiple things, but they wanted to work it out because it was a good relationship between the two of them. Other than that, right? You know, if you get past the crazy eccentric rock stuff, it was a fun relationship. They loved each other. They were planning on going ahead and starting a relationship and getting married together. But, you know, hey, this rock thing isn't good for us. And they just kept going back and forth. She wanted to go ahead and buy a house. He wanted to buy a house with her. Things like that. But they just didn't end up doing it because of her crazy rock obsession. And eventually they separate. And she goes back to living with her mother. And it's like, okay. Right, you know, alright. We're done. It sucks, but it happens. And the mom ends up giving him a call, like, hey, please take her back. I can't handle this. I was so happy when she was gone. She was taking up half the house with her rocks. She's going ahead and rubbing rocks all over her body. Right, you know, I'm seeing her in the living room, laying on the ground, rubbing these crystals on her body, and she's thinking this is going to do something for her. And she's doing this multiple times a day. And like, hey, I can't take it. Please take her back. Right. And so he's like, I don't know. We don't seem to be a good match because of those rocks. And so eventually, the boyfriend and the mom have a intervention with her. Like, hey, you know, it is kind of a problem. Right. And so they have an intervention, and it gets ridiculous, right? They decide before the intervention that they were going to go ahead and grab up all of her rocks. And you know how I said before it was 12 boxes of these rocks? They ended up finding all of her rocks because apparently she was storing some at the mom's house as well. And so it was over 20 boxes of rocks. And so they went ahead and did an intervention with her, showing her that, hey, you know, it's kind of insane to do all this, right? And she went ahead and showed her, like, hey, you know, these rocks aren't going to do anything for you. It's nothing, right? And they showed her the science behind it. They showed her everything, right? And eventually she started to get better, right? And luckily in this story she did, right? And they started to work it out, and it turned out to be a better thing, right? And they end up staying together, unlike most of these stories, and they started to go ahead and date. They bought that house, and she doesn't have that crazy rock exception anymore, right? You know, so, you know, I'm glad it worked out for them, right? But other than that, if you guys enjoyed this story, please go ahead and like and subscribe, maybe leave a comment. If you have a story of your own, please leave it down below or in the Discord or Instagram. I would love that, right? But other than that, if you guys want to go ahead and subscribe, I'd absolutely adore that. But, you know, hey, tell me, you know, what game do you guys want to go and watch, right? You know, I know I've been using a lot of Binding of Isaac, but if you want to watch a different game, please let me know. I'll go ahead and find a different one, right? But other than that, I'm gonna go. So I'll talk to you guys later. You know, thank you for watching all the way through.